what happened between the book of Malachi and the book of Matthew. The time between the last Old Testament book, Malachi, and the first New Testament book, Matthew, is known as the intertestamental period, or the 400 silent years. It is amazing that when you take your Bible and you go to the New Testament from the Old Testament, between the book of Malachi and the book of Matthew, there is a page, just one page, that separates the Old Testament and the New Testament. But the mystery here is that between these two books is 400 years. So this page here is 400 years. I want you to understand that between that is a very, very long time. Although the Bible does not contain books specifically documenting this time, there were significant historical, cultural, and religious developments during that time. Here are 7 things you need to know about the intertestamental period. Number 1, the Persian rule. The Persian rule, one needs to understand that the Jews lived under Persian control, which was mostly peaceful, that they rebuilt the temple in Jerusalem during that time. Number 2, Greek influence. Alexander the Great conquered the area and spread Greek culture. This affected Jewish life and customs. It even affected their culture. Number 3, new rulers. After Alexander died, his empire split, and the Jews were under new rulers called the Seleucids and Ptolemies. This caused conflict. Number 4, the Maccabean revolt. The Jews, led by the Maccabees, fought against a Greek ruler who was oppressing them. They won and rededicated their temple and celebrated as Hanukkah. Number 5, Roman control. Eventually, the Romans took over and Judea became a part of the Roman Empire. Number 6, Jewish groups. Different Jewish groups like the Pharisees and Sadducees formed, each with their own beliefs. When we are in the New Testament, we see the Pharisees, we see the Sadducees. Where are they coming from? Well, now you know that these groups were formed during this period, and each with their own beliefs, because some, they did not believe that the Messiah was still going to come, because it was in that period that prophets were scarce, or there was no prophet, so to say. Number 7, last but not least, synagogues. With the temple destroyed and rebuilt, synagogues became key places for Jewish worship, because people now were struggling to find a place of worship like the temple and all of that. With all that was happening, then synagogues became key places for Jewish worship. So it was not like God gave an instruction or God gave a command that people should, go to the synagogues. No, people now opted for that because the temple was destroyed and of course was rebuilt. But during that time, people now started going to what? Synagogues. Why is this important? I want you to understand that this period set the stage for the social, political, and religious context of the New Testament. Believe it or not, everything that we have discussed set a platform, or rather a foundation, for the Messiah. Believe it or not, It all set a foundation. That is why when Jesus comes, you will see that there is a relationship between his ministry and these people. You call them brood vipers. Jesus was something else, right? So you will see that at the end, there is also a man called Nicodemus, who, when Jesus dies or when Jesus is crucified, plays a very important role. But when you study the life of Nicodemus, you realize that this guy, not only was he a Jewish ruler, but he was also what? A Pharisee. But when did the Pharisee empire or group get formed? During that 400 years.